girls go out a lot? Do they wear them?
They just like having them. And good morning and welcome to Locked in Stitches. One moment while I make sure that everything's coming up correctly. And where am I? Okay, good morning. How are we going? I hope you're having a great day today. As always, I am Julie Hall and I can see we've got Naomi White with us. Thank you for joining us, Naomi. I am playing with a green screen today, just trying and testing to see if things work for me, just to try and give you guys the best experience possible. And I have the lovely Louise with me today. The only thing is I can't turn it around because that will screw up the green screen.
Yes.
So I do apologise, Louise.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, I hope everybody has had a great week. I see we've got Lisa Callum there as well. I was just talking about you this morning, Miss Lisa, because I've started putting pins in my travel board on where we are going to go on our trip next year. And I think your area came up as the one that we're going to need to travel through. So I was talking about you, or using your name in vain. I've had a great week. I've had visitors here this weekend, which has been lovely. I'm getting ready to go to Adelaide next week for the AMQF festival. So there's going to be lots of panic this weekend as I try and get everything ready. And I've got some new toys to show you as well. Good morning, Lorraine. Thank you for joining us as well. But the main thing that I want to do today is show you the, and now I've got to get my words right, is show you the quilting and how we are going to finish off our gorgeous poppy wall hanging. And I can see I've got Christine Dallymore there as well. Thank you for joining us, Christine. Okay, so come over to my workbench and Louise and I are going to do the hot shoe shuffle. So you can probably go in front of the computer if you like. You can answer everyone's questions.
I doubt that very much.
Okay, so, and I've got another what do they call them? Microphone here as well. So we're testing to see how that goes as well. But what I've got here is my panel, and I've got wadding, and I've got my backing fabric. Backing fabric came from Mum's stash. I have no idea who, what, where, or when. And what I've done is I've come through, I've got my 3 layers. Now, I never tape down or stretch out my backing fabric. And the reason I don't do that is because what I find is people do it to a facelift sort of a point that it's so tight, and when you then release it, it scrunches everything up without even thinking of it. And sorry, we've just lost our wall there.
Just put it back up again.
And what I've got is my quilt basting gun, and I'm going to come through and just pierce that through and click. And what that does is it allows me to baste the quilt without bothering with glues or anything like that. Now, this is not only is the backing fabric from Mum's stash, but this wadding is from Mum's stash as well. And this is where, and I used to use this all the time. So all of my early quilts have this horrible iron-on pellet. You love it, do you?
I love it.
Oh, good. You can have the rest of the bolt. Great. That gets it out of the way.
For wall hangings, I love it.
Oh, and see, I just dislike it. Isn't it funny how different people like different things?
Yeah.
Which is absolutely fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So after I've basted my quilt, and you'll see links in the notes to everything that I'm talking about, I'm going to come through and I need to make a magnetic hoop. And I do that by taking my magnapin, and I just want the metal side of it. And then I've got a piece of Incredi tape. Now I reuse this Incredi tape over and over. I've got my little packet, and can never find the one thing. So this is my magnapin box, and in it are way too many magnapins because there's always one that's left over that becomes my stash, and my excess tape, and that is all stored in there ready for me whenever I need it. So I'm going to take my metal back and pop it on the hoop. Now, even though the hoop is shorter than the magnapin, and I'll show you what I mean by that, you always want to make sure that the hoop can sit flat. So don't halfway it down. Always make sure that the hoop is sitting flat and the pin is then sitting up, because otherwise you are going to be struggling to get the hoop onto the machine. So then I wrap my Incredi tape around, and you just give it that little bit of tension, and that allows it to sit perfectly. So now I have a magnetic hoop. I've got my quilt, and I've got my template. I've printed my template out onto tracing paper. Now, can I get you to pass me that tablet? Just take the cord out of it so that I can see if anybody has a question. Oh, didn't mean to break your hand. I do apologise. And we've got Kathy O'Durkin's with us as well. Thank you for joining us, Kathy. Fantastic. So here I've got my template, and this is my quilting poppy design. So I've added my border, and my border was 4 inches is what I cut. So it comes down to 3 3/4. Now, I don't mind where we start. I, for instance, am going, but we must start on an end. I'm going to start at the top here, and then I'm going to go all the way around. And what I'm going to do each time is show you exactly how I match those designs so that it does look seamless. So what I've done is I've come through and I've taken the halfway measurement and I've done a chalk line right the way around my design. Now I can come through and move to the sewing machine. And what I've got is my design on the screen, and I've got my hoop all loaded in. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to be going back and forth showing you exactly what I'm doing so that you can see on the screen. And every machine has the ability to do this. It's just finding where those requests are in your machine. So when we bring up our design, we are in the center of the design. And you can tell that, let me get my stabby tool. So you can tell that from where this cross is. As soon as I press on my plus button to take me to where the first stitch starts, it takes me to the top. It's also then moved the hoop to where that first stitch is going to start. And from there, I can come through. Oops. So from there, I can come through and look at where, and I've got the cross point sitting down here on that chalk line, and I'm going to put the needle down where that first stitch is going to go. From there, I need to match up. Now I am off the grid here because if we look, we've got a whole lot of just plain stitching. So we want our first flower to be on the, to be sort of at the end of the fabric. The next thing that we're going to do is come through, and I've marked the center of my hoop, and I've marked it with a blob of hot glue gun glue. So if you feel that, you can feel where that center is, and that means that when I come over here, I can line up the center of that chalk line with the center of my hoop. And then I can put my magnets in position. Always have to raise the presser foot. Now, the downside of this presser foot, and I'm using my 550 at the moment, so I'm not using my regular 15,000 machine, is that it has a really small foot, and that can go against us, and you need to make sure it doesn't lift up that fabric. And that's our first design finished. How quick is that? But now we start looking at the magic of the quilting design. So the magic of the quilting design is we are now going to come through, raise my presser foot, and again send it to where that first stitch starts. From there, we're going to come through and put our needle down where the last stitch ended. That is the magic, so it matches itself up. Then I'm going to come through and line up. And it's always that first design that's the hardest, because it has, because it doesn't get tuck in the end pieces. And it's worth just making sure that your magnets are always on the magnetized edge. Raise your presser foot, raise your needle, lower the presser foot, and that has matched up then perfectly. Now the thread I'm using is one that I'm trying to use up, and it's a red and black multi-tonal.
Why are you trying to use it up? That would be a favourite thread of mine.
It's been there forever, and it's a cotton, so it's not an embroidery. It's an actual cotton thread.
Yeah, that would be a really good quilting thread.
But the colours, the blacks and the reds, match so perfectly.
Yeah.
So we take our magnets off. And we send it to the first stitch. We take the magnet that we forgot off. And it is all about putting that needle down where that last stitch ended, matching up.
So the quilt police would not know that this was done by a machine.
I don't know. I've seen some of your Nazi quilt police friends. I'm betting they'd be looking bloody close. But looking from the outside, no, hell no.
No, they wouldn't.
And fundamentally, this is the technique that we are teaching in Adelaide. If anybody is from Adelaide and wants to come along, it is the 11th to the 13th. And I think it's the Adelaide Convention Centre.
Because if you use this cotton thread, which is what quilters use,
Yeah.
and put the same in your bobbin,
Absolutely.
and didn't write on your thing that you had free motion quilting, and just did rows of this, no one would know that you had.
So we're going to teach edge-to-edge continuous quilting with your embroidery machine.
Yeah.
And
If you
that's...
kept your mouth quiet, nobody would know. Sorry, girls.
But it's one of those perfect matches of fabric and thread as well. This grunge fabric matches so beautifully with the poppy and with the thread. Now we are coming to the end of our fabric. So next thing we need to look at is how exactly do we come through and match those designs up. And I can see we've got Angela Taylor Seddon with us. Thanks for joining us, Angela.
So you have to calculate the length of
No.
your design?
Nope. If we had gone off, and I call it going off the reservation, if we had come through and stitched past here, that is still fine.
Okay.
So now we need to turn a corner.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come through here, guys. Let me just... So what I want to do is come through, and I've got my template, and I want to look at where I want that to match up.
Oh, okay.
So for instance, that for me is too far. Like there's too much distance between that and that. So instead, I'm going to come up here, and then I'm going to fast forward to down here, and I'm going to match it on that line there.
Okay.
Now Louise doesn't quite believe me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So
Just
again,
move
we
fast
go to
forward.
where the first stitch starts. And,
You're going to skip a few stitches.
well, first things first though,
Yes, you've got to put your needle
I'm going to
down.
put my needle down to keep everything in the right place.
Yes, I understand that.
Then I'm going to come through and now I just need to wiggle to see to make sure you guys can see everything that I'm doing. So matching up those corners or that center line. Okay, so that means that we're now along the right trajectory. Now all I'm going to do is come through and decide where I want to start.
And because you're starting there, the machine will do a locking stitch there?
It will, you can tie it off. It doesn't do a locking stitch per se, no. It's not that smart. So you can leave a tail and go and do a tie.
Yeah, if you were making a quilt that was going to be used,
yeah,
you could do a tie afterwards.
Absolutely. Now, I want to show you exactly what we've got there then. One more at the back. So, and this is what I would then feed through the back and tie off.
Yeah.
But what you have is that matched up design.
Yep.
And then again, go to where the first stitch starts. We put our needle down. And I always do and recommend top and bottom, and then the sides. And that's just because the top and bottom is the axis that we care most about. Now, one of the reasons that this design works is because it is a straight design. Okay, so there's no, you could absolutely use this as an all-over quilting design, but it's straight, so there's no locking pieces that go in and out. And that's what you're looking for on a border. I got wonderful news yesterday, 2 people. My new machine should be with me by the end of the month.
Oh, wow. You'll have to have some dinners pre-cooked.
Yeah, it'll be what the kids are cooking that week. And every finish is different, which is why I want to come through. I mean, this is a fairly small project, but I do want to come through and show you guys exactly because the next border will finish at a different point. Like not every design is going to finish where that one did. So it's just getting that confidence. One of the funniest things that I find, and I guess it's just one of those things that that I'm used to because I'm doing it, is when I'm teaching. I have to pull my magnets off and have them in a nice little bundle here.
Yes.
And it's the when I'm teaching a class, and it's the magnets are sort of everywhere and sticking to the table, and it's my own little part of OCD, I guess. It's the same as it was beautiful. Cameron and I had gone to Costco last week, and I bought bagels. And I noticed when Emma was cooking her bagel in the toaster, she had to put both sides facing each other. And I thought, oh, she's just like her mother. It's lovely.
Yeah, you have to have matching them pairs.
Yeah, you can't have them they've got to face into each other. Like the cut bits in the toaster have got to face into each other.
Yes.
And I like the subtlety of quilting a poppy wall hanging with a poppy.
Yes.
I think that's kind of nice. Now, I've got nothing to do with this one. I was wondering whether somebody in your circle of people might like this from a charity point of view or something, Miss Louise.
Yeah, I think so.
And again, and there is a real zen to coming through and doing this. I have had one woman tell me that she likes to come home from work and her slow down for the day is to just do one row of continuous quilting. Everything's ready to go, but she's a charity quilter and she can get a single bed quilt done in a week just doing that.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, what a cool idea.
Yeah. That's really nice. Now what do you do?
So I reckon I'm easily going to get another in there. So I'm going to come through. And you just eyeball.
So you're going to let it go over the seam joint?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
And when we're going off the fabric, my little colloquialism for that is going off the reservation.
Oh, okay.
Because it's necessary. If you sent a quilt out to be quilted and they said, I'm not going to do the last 4 inches because it was too hard, you're not going to be happy.
No.
Pretty darn pissed would be actually my term for what I'd be thinking I'd be feeling. If I got something back and they hadn't done, the last pattern didn't fit in there, so we're not going to quilt that bit for you. So no,
that would be terrible.
So no, going off reservation is absolutely, and that's why we have extra wadding and extra fabric so that you can do this. Now, this one has stopped in an interesting point because it has stopped at pretty well the point that we would want to start another one. So let's come and see what we've got. Sorry, I'm just making sure that you guys can see. Now, if I take my template, just going to get rid of that little darling. Normally I cut them from the back. I find it easier to trim them away from the back. But, so here is my chalk line. And here is my flower. Now, if I came all the way down to there, once again, I think it's going to be too much. If we look at that 3/4 of a centimetre, 1/2 inch sort of a thing, I think between the flowers, I think where we need to be is more sort of there, so that we've got that 1/2 inch between those flowers there. And that's what I'm basing my maths on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So again, we're going to come through and I've had so much fun while I was up in Brisbane doing this one, while you know, even doing ones like this, that yeah, next year I'm going to do like a focus on all the different ways that we can use those quilting designs. And again, we want to then start it at that joint. So one of the questions that I've had a lot with the magnapins and the way that I'm doing the hooping is this the same as the dime hoop? So have you seen the dime hoop? It's that big magnetic hoop. And look, it's sexy, it's lovely, and it's expensive. And it's not necessarily, so it's an aftermarket product. So it's like when you get, I'm trying to think, cheap rims for the car, or like, you know,
Yeah.
it's an aftermarket product. Now, it's beautiful and it works for most machines, I believe. I have heard of an issue with the sizing, particularly for something like my 550 here. And I haven't used it myself, so I cannot guarantee one way or the other. Like, I'm only telling you guys what I've been told. But what that will do that this won't is work for really large embroideries. This is for quilting, this is for open work. This technique that I'm doing here with the magnets is not for a really dense design.
Yeah.
I'm really liking how that's coming together. I'm quite happy with that.
You really have to be very careful what you choose for a really dense design.
I should have, by the end of this week, a beautiful range of Fabulux threads, which is the threads that I was teaching on when we were up in Brisbane. They were so popular and everybody wanted them. So I've just bought in the the range and I'll show you. Can you
Maybe
reach behind you where those pretty, yes, down there, yep. Yep. So they are all the multi-tonal, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is the 08. Now, I don't know how you get from this to this, but damn, it's pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty, isn't it?
And yeah, all of these beautiful different colours that I'll be able to show you and share with you. Okay, so this time I'm going to very deliberately go off the reservation. So we've got a fair bit of room, as you can see, between here and here. I just want to come through so that that's not empty. So again, we just go to the first stitch. And remember, you are in control of the machine. It is not the machine in control of you. It often feels that way.
Oh, it does.
Now, obviously, I've got nothing here to adhere the bottom to, and that's okay. Okay. So, finger on your start stop. And all I want to do is fill in this bit. Okay, so I now know that that's as much as we're going to get in.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's all we need. Cut that off. And then go back to where our first stitch is. And we can start to think about lining that up. My goodness, I'm feeling an absolute sense of achievement, guys. I've got stuff done.